This isn't just the code of your life, it's the ticking of a time bomb set 40 years ago. In this video, we'll expose the business plan of a doctor who was seen as a savior, but turned out to be the creator of a genetic bomb. He promised childless couples a miracle, but instead of using anonymous donors, he secretly used his own genetic material for decades. And now, hundreds of people are discovering that their father is the same man. We'll show how one DNA test, bought as a gift, uncovered the deception and sent shockwaves around the world. To date, 94 of his children have been officially confirmed, and that number is constantly growing. This DNA test was like an old dusty key found in an attic, a key that suddenly fit a secret room in your own house that you never even knew existed. At the center of the story is Dr. Donald Cline, the ideal doctor from a small town in Indiana. He was a pillar of the community, a devout man, and the top fertility specialist in the state. Couples traveled to see him from all over the country. His reputation was impeccable. He was the one they trusted with their most precious hope, the dream of having a child. And it was this very trust that he turned into his greatest weapon. To give you some perspective, he was an elder at his local church. His public reputation was like a fortress wall he had spent decades building. No one could have imagined the experiments he was conducting inside. This story will answer 3 questions. How did he manage to hide this for decades in an era before DNA technology? What was his true motive? Money, ego, or something more sinister? And how did his empire crumble when his children began finding each other online? Fertility medicine in the 70s and 80s was the Wild West, with virtually no oversight or laws. It was the perfect hunting ground for a predator in a white coat. The scheme was horrifyingly simple. A patient comes to the clinic. She's told the donor is an anonymous medical student. In reality, Cline uses a fresh sample of his own biological material. His success rested on 3 pillars: the absence of DNA banks, complete trust in doctors, and the sanctity of medical confidentiality. It was a system that, in theory, could not fail. Cline even assured patients that he never used the same donor more than 3 times. This was a calculated lie to lull their vigilance. His clinic wasn't a medical facility. It was a factory with a single, secret supplier of raw material: himself. For decades, Cline's secret was buried deep. The children grew up, started their own families, and suspected nothing. But technology doesn't stand still. And one Christmas gift, bought for fun, was about to become a detonator that would blow up the lives of hundreds of people. Cline's secret was like a message in a bottle thrown into the ocean 40 years ago. He never suspected that the internet and commercial DNA tests would become the global current that would one day wash that bottle ashore for all to see. It all started with one woman. Her name is Jacoba Ballard, an only child. She took a DNA test out of simple curiosity to learn more about her European roots. No drama, no family secrets. She just wanted to dip a toe into her family's genealogical stream, but instead, she fell into a bottomless abyss. Jacoba logs into her account on the website. She sees something that shouldn't be there. In the relatives section, 1 half-brother. Strange. Then a second, a third, a 7th. The system showed her 7 half-siblings she had never heard of. It wasn't a family tree, it was a genetic flash mob. A crowd of strangers suddenly burst into her life through a computer screen, and the algorithm claimed they were all her closest blood relatives. Put yourself in her shoes for a moment. You just wanted to find out if you had Irish roots. Instead, you get a notification. 7 half-siblings found. Your first reaction? Shock? Disbelief? In the genealogy community, there's a specific term for this, an NPE event, not parent expected. It's like if your GPS, which you've used your whole life, suddenly informed you that your hometown is actually on another continent. Jacoba begins her investigation. She writes to one of the matches, then another. They create a private Facebook group, and then the avalanche begins. Every month, new people with identical results are added. They start comparing their birth stories and childhood photos, and they see an unnerving resemblance, the same eye color, similar facial structures. They were like digital detectives assembling a puzzle where each new member brought a missing piece. and the picture that emerged was horrifying. All threads of their investigation converged on a single point, on the map, on one name. The realization strikes like lightning. Dr. Donald Cline's clinic in Indianapolis. Their biological father wasn't an anonymous medical student. Their father was their mother's doctor, and there weren't 7 of them. There were dozens. To date, 94 of Cline's children have been officially confirmed. Based on the years of his practice, there could be more than 200. This was the epicenter of a genetic earthquake, and they were all seismic waves radiating from a single point on the Indiana map. This question hits harder than any physical blow. Who am I now? My entire biography, my sense of self, it's all built on a lie. The stories they tell each other sound like a thriller script. One of the brothers discovered that he had worked side by side with his half-sister for years, and neither of them had any idea. But the most chilling case is one of Cline's daughters, who, facing infertility herself, sought help at a clinic. Her treating physician turned out to be her own half-brother. They both found out years later. It's like suddenly realizing that the book of your life, which you've been reading since childhood, was stolen, and the first chapter was a complete fabrication. Armed with a voice recorder, several of Cline's children went to confront him. At first, he was in complete denial. Then, under the pressure of DNA evidence, he began to crack. His excuse was pathetic. He said he just wanted to help, that there was a shortage of donors in the 70s. During that recording, he admitted to using his material about 50 times. It was another lie, an attempt to downplay the scale of his actions. His confession wasn't remorse. It was a desperate attempt to plug a crack in a dam that was already collapsing under the weight of the truth. But this tragedy affected 2 generations. For the mothers, it was the realization of genetic rape. The doctor they had entrusted with their most intimate hopes had deceived them on a cellular level. And for the fathers who had raised these children for 40 years, it was a blow to the heart. What Cline did now has a legal name: fertility fraud, a crime for which, at the time, no law even existed. For these fathers, it was as if a thief had stolen not their money, but their family legacy, secretly replacing it with a masterful forgery. Out of this shared trauma, a unique community was born. They are a family none of them asked for. They support each other, but at the same time they live in constant fear. Dating in Indiana has become dangerous. The risk of accidentally meeting a half-sibling is too high. This fear has a name: anxiety over unintentional incest caused by the sheer number of hidden relatives. They are a tribe born from deception, a massive family tree with a single root and hundreds of branches that never knew they grew from the same source. But there is another darker chapter to this story. What if Cline had hereditary diseases? Now, hundreds of people live in fear, not knowing what genetic time bomb he planted in their code. Many of his children have been diagnosed with autoimmune disorders, particularly rheumatoid arthritis, a disease that was in Cline's own family history. He passed on to each of them not just DNA, but a sealed envelope of medical risks, and no one knows what's inside until it's too late. Cline's crime isn't in the past. It continues to grow and mutate inside each of his children right now. So what drove this man? His own version of events is laughably simplistic. He claimed that in the 70s and 80s there was a shortage of donor material. He was simply helping women achieve their dream. Claiming he did it because of a donor shortage is like a bank manager robbing his own vault and then saying he did it because the tellers were short on cash. This isn't a solution to a problem. It's the crime itself, disguised as a solution. Let's look at this as a business plan. Using his own material was easier, faster, and cheaper. No payments to donors, no screening of samples. In essence, Cline implemented a perverse form of vertical integration for his business. He became the sole, completely free supplier of the key raw material. His clinic turned into a biological assembly line where the gift of life was reduced to a cynical manufacturing process with maximum profit. But money doesn't explain everything. To understand Cline, You have to get inside his head. He was a member of the quiverful religious movement. Its name literally means a quiver full of arrows. Its followers believe they should have as many children as possible to fulfill God's will. He saw himself not as a doctor, but as a biblical sower, scattering his seed upon fertile ground. In his twisted logic, he wasn't committing a crime. He was fulfilling a mission. This is a classic Messiah complex. Let's be honest. The "I was just helping" story is a smokescreen. The real motive is a toxic cocktail of narcissism, religious fanaticism, and greed. In psychology, this condition fits perfectly with the concept of malignant narcissism. It's a combination of extreme self-centeredness, a complete lack of empathy, and a sadistic pleasure derived from having power over the lives of others. This was not an impulsive crime. It was a cold, calculated, multi-decade project. And here is the most shocking fact. Cline faced almost no punishment, a $500 fine and a 1-year suspended sentence. Why? Because the system proved blind to this kind of evil. At the time the crimes were committed, the state of Indiana simply had no law against fertility fraud. He was convicted not for what he did to his patients, but for lying to investigators, 2 counts of obstruction of justice. The law was like a fishing net with large holes designed to catch big fish. Cline was a virus. He simply slipped through it because no one could imagine that protection from such evil was necessary. Cline's story didn't just expose a crime. It tore the facade off an entire industry. In the Netherlands, a doctor named John Carbot fathered more than 80 children. In Canada and other U.S. states, similar stories are surfacing. Cline wasn't the only monster. He was just the first dinosaur skeleton to be fully excavated with the help of new genetic tools. And now, the paleontologists of justice are finding similar skeletons all over the world. Commercial DNA tests have become the Pandora's box of our time. On one hand, they are a weapon for justice. The same forensic genealogy technology that exposed Cline's deception helped catch serial killers like the infamous Golden State Killer. On the other hand, they are a hammer that shatters families, revealing decades-old affairs and adoption secrets. A DNA test is like publishing the private diaries of everyone from 50 years ago. You might find beautiful poetry, or you might find proof of a crime. But out of this chaos, order is born. Cline's children lost in court, but they won in the legislature. Their fight was not in vain. In 2019, a law was signed in Indiana that made fertility fraud a felony. They used their trauma as a battering ram to break through the wall of outdated legislation. And this changes everything. The very idea of anonymous donation is dead. It just doesn't know it yet. In a world where anyone can buy a DNA test for $100, genetic secrets no longer exist. Countries like the United Kingdom, Sweden, and Australia have already banned anonymity entirely. Genetic anonymity today is a sandcastle on the shore of an ocean of data. The tide is inevitable. And this story isn't just about a monster doctor. It's a story about the end of an era of secrets and the beginning of a new age where our code has become an open book. The only question is whether we are ready to read what's written inside. This story leaves us with 3 hard lessons. This is a survival guide for the new world of genetic transparency. First, authority does not equal truth. We are conditioned to trust the white coat. It's called the halo effect, and it causes us to switch off our critical thinking. Cline's story teaches us, ask questions. Even of the most respected specialists, blind trust isn't a virtue, it's a vulnerability. Second, your DNA test isn't a selfie. It's a group portrait of thousands of your ancestors and relatives, and you might not like some of the faces in that picture. You are buying a key to your past. Be prepared that it might unlock a different door than the one you expected. And the third and most important lesson, family is a verb, not a noun. Many of Cline's children say that after the shock, their bond with the fathers who raised them only grew stronger. DNA tells the backstory, but love and care write the book itself. Biology is a fact. Family is a choice you make every day. The story of Donald Cline is about how a man with a God complex built a skyscraper of lies on a foundation of universal trust. The DNA test wasn't the battering ram that brought it down. It was merely the seismograph. It showed that the foundation was built on sand. The collapse was only a matter of time. Modern technology simply exposed what was rotten from the start, proving that no secret can be kept forever. And now, the main question for you. What was Cline more of? A wolf in sheep's clothing who just wanted to deceive? Or a mad shepherd who decided his flock would be better if he only bred it with himself? What came first? His monstrous ego or his twisted desire to help? Write just one word in the comments, ego or help. Let's see which one wins.